Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Choice Series webinar on complex commercial litigation. The Career Choice Series is designed to help you choose your career path. Whether you're a law student, young lawyer, or transitioning attorney, find out what it's like to work in various practice areas and the best way to position yourself to get there. The Career Choice Series is brought to you by ABA Legal Career Central, Law Student Division, Young Lawyers Division, and the Section of Litigation. The Section of Litigation provides litigators of all practice areas the resources needed to become successful and experienced advocates. The section is dedicated to offering its members numerous opportunities for business networking and career advancement, and a large portfolio of professional and business development products, including books, periodicals, CLEs, and webinars. Learn more at ambar.org/litigation. The Young Lawyers Division is here to help new lawyers navigate the early years of their career and law students prepare for life after law school. The newly enhanced ABA Legal Career Central is a career center that offers a robust source of career development resources and connects legal professionals across all disciplines and career stages with employers offering career opportunities. The Law Student Division has just introduced premium benefits, which includes a savings of $250 on Barbary Bar Review, $25 off West Academic Casebooks, and a legal ethics bundle that includes a free Model Rules of Professional Conduct ebook. Upgrade to premium for $25. Sign up today at abaforlawstudents.com/go-premium. I am Emily Roschek, Associate Director of ABA Legal Career Central, and I'm happy to have you all here today and introduce our two amazing speakers who have amazing experience to share with you today about this robust area of complex commercial litigation. Mary Craig Calkins is a partner at Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Rick Gross is a partner with Carlton Fields, and I'm very excited to have them share with you their expertise and their career paths and answer any questions that you might have today. So with that, I would like to first let them give you an idea of what complex commercial litigation entails. And with that, Mary, can I start with you? Can you please give us a little taste of what this covers?
Sure, and thanks, Emily. I do insurance recovery work, not insurance defense, but insurance recovery. So I represent policyholders when insurance companies say no to a claim, and that means we're pretty busy in terms of that. To get there, my path was that I started as a general litigator a number of years ago, did a wide variety of cases, which was really great background for what I'm doing. In about 1986, I was handed a case just in the ordinary course, and it was insurance coverage for an early software piracy case where there was infringement. And I took that all the way through to my first jury trial, got $6.2 million in a jury verdict, including punitive damages. I loved the complexity. And after a brief stint as in-house counsel at a movie studio, I went back into private practice and have been focusing on insurance ever since.
Thank you so much, Mary. Rick, would you give us a little insight into what you do?
Sure, and to talk about what complex commercial litigation is, and thanks, Emily, it's all-encompassing is the best way to describe it. It involves matters of all nature of business as well as ancillary issues. You'll deal with real estate matters, banking matters, corporate issues, business divorces, securities litigation, contractual claims. I've handled claims for sports teams and things that arise out of that. So it's very encompassing. Unlike Mary, I'm probably more of a generalist. I have a specialty in creditors' rights and bankruptcy, but I've handled pretty much every type of case during my career. My first experience with commercial litigation was the day I got admitted to the bar in Florida in 1987. I was working at a medium-sized firm. The senior associate asked me to prepare a replevin motion to try to take property from a debtor, and I got my bar results in the mail. That's how long ago this was. and I told the senior associate what happened. He called the judge. The judge swore me in, and then I argued my first motion that day and went then to the company's facilities and shut them down. So it's literally that, it's that kind of action. You'll handle all different types of things and all different types of proceedings when you do it.
Well, that's a perfect segue into wanting to discuss how you even got into this area of law. So thank you, Rick. So what, it didn't sound intentional. Is that normal, or how does this go about? How would you describe your career path and how you've maneuvered it, since it sounded like it wasn't necessarily what you were thinking you were going to get into?
Well, for me, it was an interest that I developed as a summer associate. I was a history and English major in college. I took a couple of economics courses, but really did not have a business background. That summer, I handled lots of types of litigation as well as some transactional work. Really liked the litigation and really liked the complex commercial claims that I worked on. I got some trial experience in law school as a student public defender, but realized when I got out that commercial litigation was what I wanted to do. But I think what I would emphasize is that you don't need a background in business to do it. You just need to be willing to deal with complex issues and complex problems and work your way through them.
And just to clarify, what does complex mean?
Oh, God. It's just so all-encompassing. I mean, it basically talks about the level of and depth of the types of issues that you're looking at. And so you'll have a main issue in your case. I was in court this morning, for instance, in a breach of contract case where I'm handling the expert issues. And one of the issues involved is how much are the damages of the plaintiff and how are they determined? And we're looking at 7 or 8 different methodologies in terms of attacking their damage model. So it's not just one issue that you're looking at, but you'll be looking at 10 issues arising out of one claim. That's what makes it more complex than more simple types of litigation. I think all litigation has some complexity to it, but commercial litigation, because of the types of disputes and because of the broad nature of the disputes, tends to make them a little bit more complex when you're dealing with them. I'm sure
you have to be a specialist in each of those areas that you're dealing with too. So the way it's complex for Rick, for example, is that he is dealing with multiple facets of business litigation at all points in time. And he might have one client in bankruptcy at the same time that he's going through a dissolution of a company, at the same time that there is an issue of fraud. And all of those things are going on at the same time, potentially for the same clients. And for me, it's complex because we have so many of the issues that are on the insurance side, but at the same time you're dealing and manipulating the underlying aspects to make sure that the policyholder's claim is falling within coverage instead of outside coverage. So it's really a juggling act. You're doing a lot of complex issues, most of the time multiple issues in the same case.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much, Mary. And so, Mary, tell us, please, how did you get into complex commercial litigation?
Well, some of it was luck of the draw, as I said earlier, but no one in my family had ever gone to law school. So right after college, I worked in a law office for a little bit of time. I found that I was doing almost everything that the attorneys were doing, except getting the credit, the money, and the court experience. So I went back to law school, and then you look at it. I don't think anyone goes to law school expecting to be an insurance recovery lawyer. But that was something that, because of the luck of the draw, because of the case assignments at my first firm, and because I found out I was very good at it and there were a lot of opportunities, it just evolved over time.
All right, thank you. So Mary, let's start with you for this question. What is the day in the life of an attorney in your practice area?
Depends on the day, which I'm sure is what Rick is going to say as well. But I do, because of the insurance recovery aspect, I do a lot of counseling. I look at policies. I read them, I analyze them, I determine whether there's coverage for a particular claim, a lawsuit, a regulatory inquiry, an investigation, or just even a demand letter. You look at that, you're setting it up, you're responding to correspondence, but I'm also a litigator, so I'm in court, I have motion practice, I have had back-to-back trials on a rolling thunder basis where we did 3 months of trials. We'd submit it to the jury verdict would come in on a Thursday or Friday, and we'd start the next trial on the next Monday morning. It's funny, I've traveled probably almost 100,000 miles this year because I have a national practice that evolved over time as well. And I probably handle anywhere from 15 to 30 active matters at any given point in time. So a wide variety of matters, and you're always dealing with different issues, negotiating, and either doing it in writing, oral negotiations, communications with your opposing counsel, and being there for the court.
Wow, that sounds like a really great diverse skill set that you would need for every day in your life. It would break up any monotony, so that sounds great. Rick, can you tell us about a day in the life of your kind of complex commercial practice?
Sure, Emily, thanks. I think part of it depends on the level you're at in your career. Now, a lot of it, as Mary said, is giving advice on various issues during the day, either via email or by phone to clients or colleagues. I do work in court probably 2 or 3 times a week. I'm in court on motion calendar. Trials are more random, but I just finished one a week ago, so that happens as well. There's a lot of complex motion practice, which I think is more of the court time. There are depositions that are taken, a lot of editing of other people's work that has to be filed with the court. And then there's, a lot of, and it's early in the career for a lot of these folks, but it's always good to think about. There's business development that's associated with it because we're constantly trying to make sure we have the workflow to keep ourselves busy. When I was younger, or the younger lawyers that I work with, I think starting out, a lot of what you're doing is researching issues, reviewing documents, analyzing issues, giving support to more senior lawyers in your firm. Depending on the size of cases, you may get into court as well. A lot of it depends on your workload, the workload within your firm. But it's your days are not all the same. They're very different. Some are shorter than others. But there's always something to do, and that's what I love about it.
And Emily, let me pick up just on a comment that Rick said. The business development aspect is not only a fun aspect, but it's an essential one as you become a partner or looking at your opportunities. We have to get work in the door. So that's one of the really interesting things. We do speaking, we do writing, we do communications with folks, getting our names out there, etc. at the same time that we're developing our business, developing our substantive skills and our practical aspects. So I agree with Rick. It makes it fun, and one of the things you love about it is that there's always something different to do.
Well, that is a perfect segue into the next question. So thank you. Yes. The next question is, what do you love about working in complex commercial litigation, and what are some challenges that you face? So that's wonderful to hear that business development is actually fun, because I know that can be really difficult and challenging for some attorneys and newer attorneys out there. So Mary, let me talk to you first. Can you please expound upon what you love and hate about this area?
Sure. In terms of the love-hate relationship, which is any time you're working for a living, they do call it work. They don't call it play. So there are those aspects to it. But I really love the three-dimensional chess type or puzzle aspect to commercial litigation. For me, I am doing the insurance coverage, but it's superimposed on the complex issues for the cases that I'm seeking coverage for. And so I have to look at the underlying matters, the complexity, what they're doing in the underlying cases, making sure that they take the proper steps at the same time that I'm imposing the insurance framework on top of that. So I think it's really great. For example, the defense counsel might want to dismiss a claim, But if that's the only claim in the whole complaint that is giving you insurance coverage and potentially paying millions of dollars of your defense fees, you want to make sure you look at those issues. Another example is if your underlying counsel says, well, I just offered to settle a case, but you haven't told the insurance company, you can lose millions of dollars of insurance coverage because there's a consent clause. So what we're doing is we're working with underlying counsel and looking at all of those issues, and it really is like a puzzle or chess pieces. It's chess steps. It's great. Timesheets, in terms of what you hate. Even after all this years, we've been practicing 35 years, it's still hard to get everything down in time. And one of the important issues, they say that attorneys only bill about 22-25% of their time because you lose so much if you're not focusing on that. So that's important for firm economics. And then, you hate having to develop something if someone approaches you with a take no prisoners, I'm not going to be even cordial, that's something that you have to deal with. Every time you deal with an opposing counsel, you're dealing with a different personality, but there are times that you just want to grit your teeth and go on. Rick, what about you?
I would echo difficult opposing counsel, billing of time, those sort of things that just take away from the practice. The other thing, I think it's a challenge. That's not something I find that I hate, but it is a challenge. Though the information that we're trying to get across to a trier of fact, whether it be a judge or a jury, and how we do that, we're trying to take complex issues and simplify them so that any person can understand. And even when you're dealing with judges are smart people, but a lot of times they don't come from a business background. They'll come from a civil background, they'll come from a criminal background, they'll be formerly a state attorney or a public defender or a U.S. attorney, and so they did not deal in their practice with the types of issues you're presenting to them. So you need to make the information easy to understand so that the judge can understand your point of view. And when you're dealing with a jury, it's even more important. You've got to simplify it or make it more creative. One of the things I've seen over my practice is the use of multimedia and technology to get concepts across. When we started, I think Mary and I both used boards and other types of demonstratives, but now you can make things much more visual, and we've all learned over time that visual presentation of evidence as opposed to hearing testimony is something that people retain better. In terms of the things I love, again, the different types of cases that I'm handling. Currently I've got a breach of contract fraud claim where I'm defending a major lending institution. I'm dealing with a business dissolution over a failed real estate deal. I've got a defendant in an alleged Ponzi scheme that I'm defending. There are just so many different types of cases, plus a couple of bankruptcies and things like that. So very different in terms of the types of cases. I, like Mary, are juggling anywhere from 15 to 20 to 30 to 40, depending on how busy we are, matters where I have different levels of responsibility. I also, to be honest, I love the people I've met over time. Opposing counsel, co-counsel, my partners and colleagues, you develop relationships with these people. You also develop relationships with your clients. And, you make lifelong friends in what you're doing. And everyone comes from different backgrounds. I think, both Mary and I are very active in the ABA, and we've met wonderful people through our service with the ABA who are our lifelong friends. It's not interesting, or it's not, I can't think of the word I want to use, that Mary and I are on a panel together because we've done so much together in the ABA, and we socialize outside of it. So that's one of the things I love about what we do.
Oh, that's so encouraging to hear that you enjoy your co-counsel and even opposing counsel. And your clients, of course. I would imagine that only helps business. Thank you for sharing. You probably touched a little bit upon this, but let's just get this a little bit more succinct. Rick, I'll start with you. What are the top 3 skills that someone would need to practice in complex commercial litigation?
You need to be a good writer. You need to be able to get your point across succinctly. You need to be able to problem solve and be able to do it on your feet. You need to be able to think fast, but not think too quickly. And you need to be a good oral advocate. You need to be able to get your point across quickly but distinctly to a judge or a jury or to opposing counsel. So those, or to your client, because sometimes the most difficult argument you'll ever make is the one to your client to convince them of the strengths and weaknesses of their claims or the counseling that you're giving them. I think for me, those are the top 3 skills that someone needs.
Thank you, Rick. Mary, what do you think?
I agree with Rick in terms of the oral advocacy. I put it a different way, a little bit, slightly differently. It's the art of persuasion. You need to be able to have the gift of being able to articulate your position, knowing what's going to sway the other side, knowing when you can offer a piece of friendship, advice, or take a hard line, and that critical issue in terms of doing it both orally and in writing. Second issue that I came up with credibility. You have to stand by your word. This is a small community, even though we have a nationwide of hundreds of thousands of attorneys. There's 800,000 practicing attorneys these days, but it's surprising that in our areas, in our geographical areas, and in our practice areas, we come across the same attorneys time and time again. And if we haven't dealt with them directly, they know who we are, either from bar activities or national activities or other cases. So credibility is really important. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, and you make sure that you go forward. And then the last thing I think that's important is foresight. You need to be able to see 3 moves down the road. You need to know where you're going with your case, how things are going to go, and really know your substantive area so you can predict the moves that you want to take so that you get the result for your client that is important.
Those are great tips, Mary. Thank you. Now let's switch gears a little bit. And Mary, I'll just start with you as I alternate who's starting. What do you think people would be surprised to know about practicing in complex commercial litigation?
Well, I think both Rick and I have hit on it previously, but I think it's the complexity and the really great variety of the types of things that we do. We're addressing many substantive issues, and even though Rick is looking at business issues, I'm looking at insurance coverage for all of the types of things that Rick does. We all have a wide variety of substantive areas. So for me, for example, the underlying cases that I'm dealing with are securities aspects, either derivative suits or class actions, labor and employment matters, bankruptcy matters, professional liability. I've represented dentists, doctors, architects, contractors, engineers, entertainment. I've represented a number of movie studios, a number of television programs over the years, cyber and technology issues, construction defects, anything from housing developments to 58-story buildings where there's a problem or in a construction defect or an earthquake retrofit that's costing $40 million, intellectual property, etc. So I think it's surprising that when you're in commercial and complex litigation like we are, there's just such a great variety of the things you're doing.
Thank you, Mary. Rick, what about you?
I can't add to that.
Okay.
I mean, that was
yes,
what I was
you
gonna,
can.
No, really, how broad the practice is and how many different types of issues you face and the different types of claims and areas of the law or disputes that you will handle. I mean, one of the things I did earlier in my career is I represented the Florida Marlins in a dispute with one of their broadcast rights affiliates over their broadcast agreement and whether or not certain clauses had been fulfilled or not, and got to go around the country deposing various baseball players and baseball executives or defending those, which, because I'm a huge baseball fan, especially with what's going on in Chicago today, was just my career. I mean, sitting across from Jim Leland or defending Jim Leland's deposition, because that's what ended up having to happen, for me was amazing. But you just never know what the case will bring and who you will meet in the case, and it can be fascinating.
I can only imagine the really fun stories that you have with all the amazing clients you've had. Lastly, I just want to ask, how has ABA involvement boosted your career? I know you've mentioned it a little bit, but if you can flesh that out a little bit, I'd appreciate it. Mary, I'll start with you. Oh, Rick, go ahead. Sorry.
It's been a tremendous boost to my career. I have made lifelong friends who have turned into huge referral sources for me and me to them. People who I've traveled with, who I've grown up with, who I've done really good work on issues of national importance with. The updates that we get from the ABA in general, and both Mary and I are heavily involved in the section of litigation, as our bios show, are critical to our practices because we're getting updates on the law, especially now with technology, almost instantaneously, and we can stay apprised of things. There's so many resources available through the ABA. It's really allowed me, as part of my practice, to help change the law in positive ways in areas that I believe are very important.
Thank you, Rick. And Mary, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, three quick things, I think, just because we're almost out of time. One is name recognition and branding. There are so many opportunities to get your name out there, to speak on panels nationally, to do writing aspects, and really get name recognition and branding. You're known nationally when you hang with a whole group of people who are from all over the country, as Rick has said. Networking is the second one. I have friends across the country, but multiple business referrals. My company asked me, or the firm asked me, to give our new departmental operations officer an idea of the types of matters that I have that have been referrals from my ABA activities, and I had 2 pages of current matters where that is a direct result of either knowing my folks, having friends refer business, multiple business referrals, or really knowing your opposing counsel. And your opposing counsel can be great sources of business referrals as well. And the last thing I think is just being a better lawyer. We have annual meetings. We have great substantive seminars. You learn about issues. You learn about business development, rainmaking, the how-tos, how to take a deposition, how to frame your motion. We hang out with judges and the people who are really on the cutting edge of our practice areas. And we wouldn't have that but for the ABA and our national participation.
Thank you very much, Mary. Now, I do want to squeeze in a couple questions that we've received from the audience. A few times people have asked in different ways, what would you recommend with someone who doesn't have a business background to prepare for a career in complex commercial litigation?
I would jump in with all feet, but Rick, what do you think?
As I said, I didn't have that background. I got to law school. A part of the curriculum I took in law school was cases or courses that had business-related themes like corporations, banking, securities. I think now things are much different than when Mary and I were in law school, in that there's so many clinical programs that are offered in negotiation, in drafting, and things of that nature, which, while they sound transactional in nature, would help you on the litigation front as well. Because part of what we do, especially with contracts, whether they be insurance contracts or other type of contracts, is figure out what's wrong with them if you're litigating them, or what's good about them. So I think that's important. And then, if you have the ability to get a summer position, to try to find one that will give you some business or commercial background as part of what the assignments you're doing.
And I wouldn't be concerned if you don't have a detailed commercial background or a business background to looking at it at the point. I have a client who asked me how I know so much about securities law, and that was because I decided what to do and go into that, and then I learned as the case was evolving. So that's part of the fun part of the complex litigation as well. you can take the courses, you can take securities claims, you can look at the different component parts of the law, but when you jump in, part of what we do is to learn our client's business and to be able to give advice that is tailored to them. So it's a continuation of that process.
As a follow-up, what resources would you suggest to stay up to date on your client's business? Would that depend on the type of client, I would assume?
Yes, but I love Google Alerts. What I do is I've actually put in for my clients a Google Alert. And I have some pretty high-profile matters where I sometimes get 10 or 12 articles a day about my clients. But I look at it, and what Rick was saying previously is you have instantaneous information there. Not only do we hear the breaking news about trials and Bridgegate and the jury convicting people within the last hour has just come across the screen, but you can get amazing information about your clients and their businesses. Plus, I look at anything that really is a blog or information that comes out about trends in the businesses where my clients are involved. So, something like Cornerstone Research, the reports that come out, and in terms of the business prognosis, where everything is going, you look at those, and it's just part of your daily life.
Thank you, Mary. Rick, anything to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, I wanted to thank Mary and Rick very much for your time with an expertise and insight on your career choice of complex commercial litigation today. And attendees, I wanted to thank you all for attending today's webinar. Please be sure to check out the next two programs that we have in this series. We have Trust and Estate Planning coming up on November 18th and Antitrust Law on December 2nd. You can register now at abalcc.org. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.